What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and this is the Nightfall Gold Tier Guide, showcasing not only how to complete this week's Nightfall from January 10th to the 17th, but also how to achieve that Gold Tier rating to complete the Sunrise bounty from Zavala, and hopefully get a chance to get the Icebreaker Exotic Sniper Rifle. So, let's get started, and the first thing we're going to do is go over my recommended build, but we can't do that without going over this week's Nightfall modifiers. The first modifier of note, and in fact the only beneficial modifier for this week, is Brawler. This is going to massively increase your melee damage. Next, we have Fresh Troops. This modifier is just going to increase the amount of enemies you run into. And then yet again, we have Match Game. This is going to make it so that when you're doing damage to an enemy with, let's say, a void shield and you're using a solar weapon, it's going to do a lot less damage than it normally would. You have to damage enemies with the matching type of their shield. And lastly, we have Exposure. This is going to massively increase your shields, but make them recharge extremely slow, basically not at all. So, bada bop boom pow, onto the recommended build. I decided to make the most of the one good modifier, Brawler, and just go with a melee focus build with my Striker Titan. I actually did a video on this, so if you want to copy this build exactly, you can do so. But essentially, using the Thagomizers as my exotic armor piece and using the Monte Carlo as my exotic primary, my melees are recharging all the time. I have two of them, and whenever I get a kill with them, which is actually all the time, like so many enemies are in the beginning section especially of this strike, you just punch them and insta-kill them because of Brawler. Anytime I get those Storm Fist kills, I'm massively recharging my super, so I get to use my Fist of Havoc a ton as well. If you want to capitalize on the Brawler bonus, just look for an exotic armor piece that has something to do with increasing your melee capabilities. Likely it's going to add another melee charge. However, if you do want, I would say, the easiest time of going through this Nightfall, I would recommend the Night Stalker Hunter, simply because your smoke grenades, especially if you choose the extra damaging ones via your subclass, are essentially like extra grenades when it comes to a Nightfall with Brawler. They do a ton of damage, and then you can even put on an exotic armor piece that gives you two of them, and then you basically have 3 grenades you're running. Like, they really do a lot of damage. Now, aside from that, choose whatever subclass you're most comfortable with. There's no burn, so you won't be punished too badly. And for your weaponry, just make sure that you're using weapons of different elements, and especially compared to your subclass. I was using the Striker subclass Arc. I was using a solar shotgun, later switched to a solar sniper rifle for the boss battle, and then I was using a void heavy machine gun. All 3 elements are covered, and that really helps for match game. If I encounter some difficult enemies or a group of enemies all having arc shields, well, I use my abilities. If I encounter, a captain with a solar shield or what have you, I use my solar weaponry. Like, you can switch on the fly, and that really helps you conquer that match game modifier. Alright, now that's it for the build. Let's get on to the walkthrough. This Nightfall, you are going to have an incredibly easy time getting that gold contender medal. Seriously, my team got it like halfway through this strike, and the reason being is because of the Fresh Troops modifier. There is literally more enemies than there usually is, so you are racking up the points so much faster. So at the beginning of the Nightfall, when you're crossing the bridge, when you're just entering the complex, at the beginning of the complex, capitalize on this. Kill as many enemies as you can. Don't try to run around enemies or ignore enemies. Just kill the massive clumps of enemies with supers, with heavy, with whatever you can. Actually, it is good to note that when you get those melee kills, you get the takedown medal, which is going to give you more kills than a normal kill, than if you were to kill the enemy with a weapon. So utilizing your melees all the time is going to get you more points than just getting normal weapon kills. In any event, the entirety of this strike just has you killing Siva clusters and then progressing to the next section of the strike. You have to kill one outside to open the main door into the complex. Once you're in the complex, you kill one on the left side, one on the right side. I would recommend staying together with your team. Yes, you can split up, but time really won't be an issue. And things can get a little tricky if only one person goes left and then gets beaten the hell down by a Splicer Reaver captain. Not saying it happened to me, but it happened to me. In any event, take down the Siva clusters and then you will move further into the complex. Remember that when the door opens, there's always enemies inside, so get ready with those supers or heavies. After you kill the enemies here and watch out for those turrets, you're going to move even further into the complex, just destroying more Siva nodes, eventually progressing into the boss fight. Now, this part where you're seeking out the Siva clusters to open the door to the boss fight can get a little confusing. You're moving from silo to silo to silo. A lot of them look the same, a lot of them you're going in random doorways, but if you ever get confused about where to go, just pop out your ghost. Like, take out your ghost for just 2 seconds and you'll have an objective marker exactly on which door you're supposed to go to. So again, if you ever get lost, whip out your ghost. Now, I don't really have a ton of tips for this part because, well, frankly, you should have gotten the gold contender medal already. My team certainly did, and your team will likely get it soon after because, again, that fresh troops modifier is insane for point farming. But my only real tips for this section is, firstly, stick together as a team. Fresh troops can kind of surprise you. A lot of people have played this strike over and over and over again, and you're used to a certain amount of enemies being in the room. And a lot of people are going to get cocky and think, oh, I could just go in here, take down the few enemies, destroy the Siva cluster, then I'll meet up with you guys. You guys go ahead, hunt the next Siva cluster, what have you. But again, fresh troops can really surprise you, and there's going to be a lot more enemies than sometimes one person can take on. So just stick together as a team. You shouldn't be too crunched for time, and it's best to support each other. Now, moving on, we have the actual boss fight, and if you're gonna have trouble with anything, it is going to be this part. I actually hate this boss fight. I feel like it's so poorly designed, but that is a conversation for another time. In any event, I'm gonna try to tell you guys exactly how to beat it as easy as possible. Firstly, there is kind of a glitch cheese location. One person can jump to the right hand of this arena up in the rocks, to which you can see this person sitting right there. Now, when you're in this section of the rocks, the boss can sometimes shoot at you, so you should definitely be aware of that. Maybe if you have a warlock, a Sunsinger warlock that can revive, send him up here so he can take some shots, potentially die, and then revive himself. But the important part is that, as you can see here, the ogre can get attracted to the person up in the rocks and just can't kill them. Can't kill him, they're completely distracted, so they're not going to be dealing with you, and then you and your teammate can just go forth and try to kill the boss. I would definitely recommend sending one person up into this cheese, because otherwise this boss fight is just a pain in the ass. There's almost no cover whatsoever, and then shanks spawn down out of nowhere and start shooting you from basically the other end of the world. Like, I swear to God, these shanks might as well be FedExing me their bullets because they are coming from another state. It is ridiculous. In any event, you need to be aware of this. Look up every once in a while, and you should almost have one person completely dedicated to ads in this fight. That's how important it is to be killing these shanks especially, but also the normal ads that will just spawn in abundance every once in a while, and then the other person can be dedicated, whoever has the most powerful sniper, or if they have something like the Sleeper Simulant or the Galahorn or what have you, they can be dedicated as the boss killer. That doesn't mean that the ad control person can't shoot the boss. By all means, put a clip of sniper rifle ammo into him whenever you can, but you really need to be on top of the ads. Like, you cannot just focus on the boss for more than, honestly, 6 seconds or you will die. Shoot a magazine of whatever into the boss, but then when you have to reload, don't start engaging the boss again. Disengage and deal with the ads. Now it is highly likely that something will happen and the ogre will start chasing your team again. He breaks aggro on the guy that's cheesing, or the guy that's cheesing just leaves in our case, and whatever happens, or he doesn't go up there in the first place and the ogre is chasing you. In which case, one teammate basically needs to be dedicated to dealing with that ogre. Just one teammate leading the ogre around, poking him and prodding him and shooting him every once in a while with their primary, and then just getting the ogre to follow them and leave your other two teammates alone to damage the boss and pick off the ads. Now, again, that doesn't mean that your only responsibility is leading the ogre around. For goodness sakes, you can also shoot ads or shoot the boss as you pass by. But again, having one teammate dedicated to the job of leading the ogre around is really going to help you out. Use these tips and don't be afraid to go absolutely apeshit on the boss. If he's really low, just kill him as quickly as you can. Once you see that health, is just a crack away from disappearing, you should be able to overcome this boss fight. Once you do, enjoy your strange coins that you don't need. I'm just kidding. Enjoy your loot that you can actually get. Hopefully you can get some good stuff. Hopefully you can get the Icebreaker from the bounty that you should have completed forever ago. Again, gold is super easy to get in this week's Nightfall. The actual boss fight is definitely the most challenging part of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you want to see more Destiny content similar to this and don't want to miss out on next week's Nightfall Gold Tier Guide, make sure to slap that subscribe button, which now on YouTube does nothing, so you're going to have to press that bell beside subscribe if you actually want to be notified of new uploads. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good day.